Oh, well, this is exciting. Earlier today, we're being told tourists and National Trust rangers saw the legendary fin disappear into a magical doorway within the rock face here at the Giant's Causeway.
Ireland's Giant's Causeway is a place where geology meets mythology in a violent, beautiful collision. For centuries, we've been told the same story. 60 million years ago, intense volcanic activity cooled into 40,000 interlocking basalt columns. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a tourist magnet, and a geological masterpiece. But on a Tuesday afternoon in early 2026, a single drone flight captured something that suggests our scientific facts might just be a very thin cover for a much darker reality. The footage started like any other travel vlog. A tourist launched a high-definition drone to capture the sunset over the hexagonal pillars. The camera was hovering near a particularly tall section of the cliff face when the unthinkable happened. One of the massive basalt slabs, a piece of rock that should have been fused to the earth for millions of years, began to slide. It didn't crumble. It didn't fall. It moved outward. It was a controlled, deliberate motion, like a hydraulic door swinging open on hidden, ancient hinges. The drone operator was so stunned he nearly crashed the craft, but he managed to keep the lens focused. The stone door stayed open for exactly 11 seconds. During those 11 seconds, a dark rectangular void was visible behind the basalt. And then, as smoothly as it had opened, the slab slid back into place. When investigators reached the spot hours later, they found nothing. No seam, no crack, no mechanical parts. The rock appeared completely solid, as if the molecules had fused back together the moment the door shut. Park Ranger Thomas Brennan was one of the first officials on the scene. In his official report, his voice was described as unsteady. He wasn't just spooked by the sight, he was terrified by the sound. Before the door opened, Brennan and several tourists reported a deep, rhythmic vibration. It wasn't the sound of shifting tectonic plates, it was breathing. It sounded like a massive pair of lungs, Brennan told investigators. Rhythmic, slow, and incredibly heavy, like the mountain was taking a deep breath before opening its mouth. Geology professors who were visiting that day went pale. They described it as a snoring sound, a biological frequency vibrating through 60 million year old volcanic rock. For centuries, Irish legends have claimed that the giant Finn McCool is sleeping inside the causeway, waiting for the day Ireland needs him again. Science laughed at that for 200 years. Nobody is laughing anymore. When the authorities finally arrived, they didn't bring shovels. They brought ground-penetrating sonar and thermal imagers. They wanted to prove that the door was just an optical illusion or a freak geological event called thermal expansion. But the data they pulled from the rock face changed the mission from a geological study to a high-level security lockdown. The sonar sweeps revealed a massive hollow chamber behind the moving door. But it wasn't a natural cave. The chamber was perfectly rectangular, and inside, the sensors picked up upright forms. These weren't stalactites. They were narrow, steady outlines, standing in a perfect military-style line. And here's the part that authorities tried to bury. These figures measured over 8 feet tall. They were spaced at exact intervals, arranged with a level of purpose that suggests they were standing guard. Dr. Margaret Sullivan, a geologist from Queen's University, Belfast, analyzed the scans. She pointed out a terrifying anomaly. Basalt does not naturally form around objects in a perfect upright position unless those objects were already there when the rock was molten. Think about the implications. If these figures are biological, they stood there voluntarily while 1,000-degree molten lava surrounded them, sealing them into the mountain 60 million years ago. They didn't run, they didn't struggle, they waited to be entombed. Today, that section of the Giant's Causeway is restricted for maintenance, but the sensors left behind are still recording. The rhythmic vibration, that heavy, biological breathing hasn't stopped. In fact, over the last 6 months, the frequency has increased. Whatever is inside that rock is no longer just sleeping, it is waking up. One technician refused to return to the site, claiming that when he monitored the audio through his headset, he felt like something on the other side was listening back. If you travel 2,000 miles southeast from the basalt columns of Ireland, you find yourself in the ancient Lycian city of Myra, Turkey. Here, the cliffs aren't made of volcanic pillars. They are carved into a vertical city of the dead. These are the rock-cut tombs, hundreds of limestone chambers chiseled directly into the sheer face of the mountain over 2,000 years ago. To the casual tourist, they look like an abandoned apartment complex for the wealthy elite of the ancient world. But archaeologists have long known that these weren't houses for the living. They were vessels for the souls of the dead. And recently, the vessels have started to leak. The most famous of these structures is the Lion Tomb. Inside, 11 life-size stone figures stand in a circle around a central sarcophagus. Their eyes are wide, carved with a level of detail that makes them appear to follow you as you move through the chamber. For years, historians claimed these were just statues representing the family of the deceased. But in late 2025, a team led by Dr. Elena Vasquez performed a chemical analysis on the stone. What they found shouldn't exist. Organic material, human DNA, and bone fragments was embedded deep within the molecular structure of the stone statues. It wasn't a surface coating. The statues weren't carved to look like people. They were grown around people. The figures inside the Lion Tomb weren't art. They were a high-tech or magical preservation of the living, turned into stone while they stood in place. Dr. Vasquez took a permanent leave of absence after that study, claiming she could feel the statue's pulses when she touched the limestone. But the most disturbing discovery at Myra wasn't what was inside the statues, it was what was on the inside of the doors. Standard archaeology says these tombs were sealed from the outside by a community mourning their dead. However, forensic analysis of several high-altitude tombs revealed deep scratch marks and fingernail grooves on the interior surface of the stone slabs. Someone was alive when those doors were shut, and they didn't just try to get out, they tried to claw through 3 feet of solid limestone, and yet the outside of the seal remained perfect. Someone, or something, had welded the stone shut from the outside, ignoring the screams from within. Even more terrifying, new scratches have appeared. Modern explorers have recorded sounds of stone grinding against stone in the middle of the night. The radiation readings near these specific tombs are 400% higher than the surrounding rock. Whatever was buried alive in Myra is still active, still burning, and according to the sonar, still trying to find a way out. The final piece of this global puzzle lies beneath the soil of the American South. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is the longest cave system on Earth, a 420-mile labyrinth of limestone tunnels that descends into a darkness so absolute it can cause hallucinations within minutes. For thousands of years, indigenous tribes used the upper levels for shelter. But the deeper you go, the more the cave stops being a shelter and starts being a predator. The Kneeling Mummy. In a newly discovered passage, level 5, a place no human had set foot in for at least 3,000 years, forensic anthropologist Dr. Patricia Wilcox found a body that defied all logic. It was a mummified male, perfectly preserved by the dry cave air. But he wasn't lying down. The mummy was kneeling. He was positioned in front of a massive 2-ton limestone slab that blocked a narrow crawl space. His hands were pressed against the stone in a ritualistic gesture. When Dr. Wilcox examined the scene, she realized the 2-ton rock hadn't fallen naturally. The stone had slid into place, crushing the man's lower body instantly. But he hadn't died in pain. His facial expression was serene. He wasn't trying to escape, he was holding the door shut. He had sacrificed himself to ensure that whatever was on the other side of that slab stayed there. Modern explorers in Mammoth Cave have reported a phenomenon they call the shifting maze. Passages that were mapped perfectly in October are found to be completely sealed by solid rock in November. These aren't cave-ins. There is no debris, no rubble. The walls simply move. The Cave Research Foundation recently reported that 8 new miles of the system had opened up overnight. When they entered these new tunnels, they found whispering voices echoing off the walls. Audio analysts have run these recordings through every known linguistic database on Earth. The result? 0 matches. The language being whispered in the depths of Kentucky is older than any known human civilization. And like the Giant's Causeway, the moving doors of Mammoth Cave are synchronized. When the door in Ireland opened for 11 seconds, a seismic sensor in Kentucky recorded a massive, rhythmic vibration at the exact same timestamp. The Earth isn't just a ball of rock. It is a connected, biological machine with valves that are starting to fail. While the stone doors of Ireland and Turkey are carved into the light of day, a much more disturbing discovery was made 300 feet below the surface of the Black Sea. In 2025, an underwater archaeological expedition using remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, stumbled upon a series of monolithic structures that mirrored the Giant's Causeway in almost every detail. These weren't just submerged rocks. They were perfectly hexagonal basalt pillars arranged in a circular formation that surrounded a massive, flat stone slab. When the ROV's sonar hit the slab, the feedback wasn't solid. The sensors reported a void that stretched miles into the Earth's crust. But here is the detail that made the mission a top-secret military operation. The slab was vibrating. The frequency recorded at the bottom of the Black Sea was an exact harmonic match to the breathing heard at the Giant's Causeway and the whispering recorded in Kentucky. It was as if the Earth was a giant musical instrument, and these stone doors were the valves controlling the pressure of a massive subterranean lung. Dr. Victor Volkov, the lead oceanographer, noted in his leaked logs that when the ROV lights hit the center of the slab, a series of bioluminescent symbols flickered to life. They weren't etched into the stone, they were pulsing inside the crystal structure of the basalt. It was a language of light, a code that seemed to respond to the ROV's presence. The mission was cut short 48 hours later, and the coordinates were scrubbed from all public GPS databases. As these reports moved from the fringe of the internet to the desks of high-level geophysicists, a terrifying new theory is emerging. We have always viewed the Earth as a ball of molten iron surrounded by dead rock. But what if the rock isn't dead? Some researchers believe that the basalt columns found in Ireland, Turkey, and under the Black Sea are not just natural formations. They are conductors. Basalt and limestone are rich in crystalline structures that can store and transmit data. If you look at a map of the world and connect the Giant's Causeway, the Myra tombs, Mammoth Cave, and the Black Sea anomaly, they form a geometric pattern known as a great circle. What if these moving doors are the access ports to a global, biological supercomputer? A Gaia system that has been running for 60 million years, processing the evolution of the planet. The 8-foot-tall figures standing in the sonar scans wouldn't be soldiers in the human sense. They would be the processors, the biological hardware that keeps the system running, and they are starting to overheat. The increase in seismic activity, the rising radiation near the Myra tombs, and the breathing at the causeway suggest that the system is entering a new phase. It's not just waking up, it's rebooting. Whenever a moving door is filmed, the pattern is always the same. Within 24 hours, the military cordons off the area. Within 48 hours, a perfectly logical explanation involving thermal expansion or gas leaks is issued to the press. But why are they so afraid? In early 2026, a whistleblower from a major geological survey leaked a single audio file. It wasn't a recording of rock moving, it was a recording of human voices coming from a deep-sea sensor. The voices weren't speaking, they were screaming in unison. But the analysis showed the screams weren't coming from people trapped in a cave, they were being emitted by the stone itself. The Earth remembers every trauma, every extinction, and every civilization that has walked its surface. The stone doors are the archives. When they open for 11 seconds, they aren't just letting in air, they are letting out memory. The legend of Finn McCool says he will return when the world is in its darkest hour. The Lycian tombs were sealed to keep the shadows of the past from escaping. The Native American elders warned that the deep ones should never be disturbed. We are currently living in an era where the seals are failing. The drone footage from Ireland was just the first leak in a dam that is about to burst. If the doors stay open for more than 11 seconds, if they stay open for an hour or a day, what comes out won't be a giant from a fairy tale. It will be the raw, unfiltered power of a 4-billion-year-old planet that is tired of being paved over. The sonar shows the 8-foot figures are moving their limbs. The snoring has turned into a low-frequency hum that is disrupting local bird migrations. The Emperor is not just sleeping, he is standing up. We are standing on the surface of a mystery so vast, it makes our entire civilization look like a temporary layer of dust. The stone doors are moving, and they are moving for us. Here is the final question you need to ask yourself. If the ground beneath your feet is a living, breathing machine with its own agenda, who are we to say we own this planet? Are we the masters of the Earth, or are we just the bacteria living on its skin, unaware that it's about to wash itself clean? Leave a comment below and tell us what you think. If you want to stay on the front lines of the world's greatest mysteries, hit that like button and subscribe to The Ultimate Reveal. We don't just look at the surface, we go into the dark places so you don't have to. Turn on notifications, the next door is already starting to move. Thank you for watching.